Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and X. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Hive, and Blue Sky. We're everywhere.
And yet,
nowhere.
Exactly.
Check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Please go like, subscribe, share, post bubbles, post hearts, send money, send help. Send firewood.
Definitely send help. We have all the things that we need.
I know. We don't need nothing. Thank you.
Hashtag
blessed.
I don't have the cashews.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad for you.
Actually, not bad.
I bought those for you. I was hoping you
I know.
would
She
like
buys
them.
me things that I don't even eat. But this one time she got lucky and they're actually not bad.
Okay.
She bought, these are Girl Scout honey vanilla cashews, which I don't like cashews. These actually aren't bad.
I like cashews. I just can't really eat them. Because
apparently she says it gives her eye something wrong.
That's one of those things, when you have an autoimmune thing. It's one of those things, if I eat too many cashews, I do get inflammation.
You think that's your cashews, or you think that's you sticking your finger in the apple on the dirty cashew dust?
No, it's that. And because I pinpointed it would happen every year at the same time, and it was around holidays with nuts. Don't knock over that Batman. Very pricey Batman.
Mm-hmm.
You want to show people your Batman?
I moved him over so he's more in the...
What is this Batman from?
It's a Batman Year 2, which was a miniseries or a story arc that Todd McFarlane did back in the day.
Is that guy that's always talking and drawing?
The one you get annoyed with?
Yeah.
The guy that does Spawn?
That guy.
Yes. And he says, because they own McFarlane Toys, and so he says figures. I think he's from Boston? Is it Boston or Canada?
People.
I think it's
Canada.
I think he's Canadian. But he has that accent, so he says figures. Yes, I'm here to tell you about our new figures.
What I like and enjoy speaking of, some of my coworkers that work in Maine, so they're all from the Northeast, all those people. There's one guy so sweet, super cool, but he still says wicked, like wicked cool.
Oh, that's a Boston thing.
These people, they're Mainers.
That's why in the show Ted,
I know
they say wicked all the time.
I'm letting it go, but I was prepared for it because it's happening in my personal life. I'm like, man, we're that. Every once in a while, I'll be like, yeah, y'all.
Yeah, we always talk about like we don't.
I'm like, hey, howdy.
We don't talk like that, and then it pops in.
Every once in a while, something like will happen. Anyways, okay, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about a variety of movies today. Oh, did you bring the results of your of the awards? I left mine downstairs.
Don't worry about it.
I did horrible on my what was this one? Golden Globes.
The Golden Globes.
I did horrible.
I did pretty good.
You did fair. I didn't get any right that I wanted, except for Lily Gladstone. I'm glad she won. Very happy about that. I think we're both happy that Emma Stone won for Poor Things. It's a great movie. I think people
it's a weird ass movie.
It's weird. People are gonna like it or not like it, but she's good in it regardless. And yeah, I didn't expect that other one to win so much, but
which one?
That other movie.
Oppenheimer? Was
it Succession? Succession.
Oh, the TV show.
The TV show kept winning everything. Hey, no, you can't have nuts. You're already crazy.
I just finished watching today. If you ever get a chance to watch them, right around I think it's Variety. Around award times, they always get
the dogs.
And I don't know if they do it with the Oscars and the Golden Globes or just the Golden Globes, but they always get all the guys nominated for Best Actor.
Oh, together take a picture.
And they do a round table.
Oh, that round table! I love those round tables.
So I watched one today, and so it had Robert Downey Jr. and Paul Giamatti and all this stuff, and that's what the clip I played for you the other day about Planet of the Apes. Did you even hear it?
No.
So one of the questions they were talking about old projects and things like this, and they were talking to Paul Giamatti, and they were saying, so you may not know this, but his very first breakthrough movie is what?
Paul Giamatti?
Yeah.
I know he was on Planet of the Apes, but prior to that?
That was later.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Howard Stern's Private Parts.
Where he's the guy.
Yeah. Pig Virus, whichever one. One's the movie, one's the real guy. He was kind of fresh out of like theater school or whatever you want to call it, and got that role. It was like a big break. And it's funny, it's been brought up like in 2 or 3 different interviews that people ask about it. And I think a lot of people are fishing for him to say something bad about Howard Stern. And all he talks to me, he goes, I owe that guy everything.
Wow.
He goes, he gave me a role, and he was talking about on this round table
How funny.
about how he goes, man, everybody was so accommodating. Everybody was so nice on set. I didn't have as many rules. I was told just to cut loose. He goes, Howard Stern couldn't have been sweeter.
Wow.
You know, Robert Downey Jr. is a big friend, close friend of Howard Stern as well.
Really? Okay.
And like at his house times.
Gotcha.
And they were kind of talking about stuff. But the funniest thing was about Planet of the Apes. He asked him about, you know, you did things like Planet of the Apes and does this, and he goes, and at first I think they all thought he was joking because he goes, that was like the pinnacle of my career. And they're like, what? And he goes, if my career had ended
with Planet of the Apes,
he goes, nothing more than want to be able to play a talking orangutan. And everybody's kind of laughing. And then he goes, if it all ended that day, he goes, I would have been happy. He goes, my agent came to me about this, and he was like, do you really want to play an ape? Wouldn't you rather play one of the humans? He goes, if you tell them that I would rather play one of the humans instead of the ape, he goes, I will burn this agency to the ground. He goes, because when do you get to be in a Planet of the Apes movie?
And be an ape.
You know, so he's like, he goes, he would have been fine if his entire career ended after that movie was over.
Cool.
But it was interesting because it had two actors that were there. I don't remember the guy, something Coleman, I think it is, a black gentleman. With the big mustache right there?
Yes.
Who is, ironically, he's one of the guys that supposedly is rumored.
Coleman Domingo.
Domingo, yes. He's one of the ones that a lot of people have been pushing for him to possibly replace Jonathan Majors as King.
Oh, okay.
He's an openly gay man, which I didn't know. And Andrew Scott, which I think was the other guys nominated, is also openly gay. And there was a discussion about that too. And then they actually asked each other about who they wanted to work with, living or dead. And Domingo said Emma Stone. He goes, because she just seems like she's like quirky and artsy and like giving. And Mark Ruffalo's like, yeah, very much so. And Robert Downey Jr. was like, I want to be Jeffrey Wright, you know, because of stuff about his discussion, how he talks. And so it was just interesting.
Did it get emotional? Because last year with
Brendan Fraser and them.
Brendan Fraser and Short Round, excuse me, I don't know his name.
Ji-Hyo Kwan.
And it was the guy that you like, your man crush. He was on there for
Colin Farrell?
Yes. And it was just so much love in that room. Like they were crying over each other because someone pointed out Colin Farrell, and he's like, man, I thought my career was over because he was the bad boy, and he's like, I thought I would never get back.
Well, it's funny you say that. They talked to Mark Ruffalo before he did that movie, The Kids Are All Right, or whatever. Yes. I think he got nominated for an Oscar for.
Yeah.
He was done. He was like, he was going to leave, and he was figuring his career was over. And he was like, they came to him, and he goes, I'll do one more, you know, and that was the reason his career came back, because he did that one movie that he figured was going to be his last movie.
Yeah.
And then they were asking, what do you think you would do if you weren't an actor? And people were saying different things. They get to Robert Downey Jr., he goes, I'd be doing a hard time.
Yes.
You know, because he talks about getting back out of that stuff and people getting chances. And they talk about Iron Man and the fact that, you know, it seems like a given at the top now, but back then nobody knew if
nobody wanted
Iron Man. Well, it was that, but Iron Man was also like a third tier character. He's not a character that, even though he's a major Marvel character, he's not a character that most non-comic book people are familiar with. He's not a Captain America, a Spider-Man.
Right.
He is now, but at that time, if I had told you, hey, you'll know Iron Man, there's a 50-50 shot.
I'd be like, Iron Man.
Yeah.
I'd be going with
Ozzy Osbourne. And so it's kind of like with like a DC side making a Shazam movie. You know Batman, you know Superman, you know Wonder Woman. Not as many people know Shazam. So it was a major risk to do that and then try to work it out. So
I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's only like an hour if you get a chance. And it's also interesting just to hear their discussions about what they put into stuff and how they decide and why they think. Like Mark Ruffalo tried to get out of doing Poor Things.
Really?
Because he didn't think he could do that movie. He's like,
he's fantastic.
He's like, you don't, and I've heard him say it in numerous interviews. He goes, he kept telling me, he's like, you don't want me for this movie. This is not me. I can't do this.
He's fantastic.
You know, and they also talk about their worst or most memorable audition situations. Mm-hmm. And Jeffrey Wright talks about it. He didn't name that director or whatever. He goes, but I remember getting this director, and he goes, I got flown out on the director's private plane for the table read or whatever. They did the table read. He goes, everything seemed to be okay. He went back to the hotel. He said, and he got a call from them and said, you will not be flying home on the private plane.
Huh.
And sent him home on commercial.
Okay.
And then they made a joke. They're like, because they sent him home in first class, and they're like, oh no, did you have to go home in first class? You know? So it's funny watching them attack each other and
That's
be silly.
hilarious.
And,
that's fun. I love those.
but also the importance of character roles and starring roles, and like Domingo talked about being in this one movie, and how he felt he loved playing that role because it felt like his job was to give to the other actors to cement everything to make it work. And you know, so anyway, nice. It's always an interesting thing. They do it every year. If you haven't ever seen them, go back and watch the old ones too. It's
the old one I'm telling you last year's was just a tearjerker because everybody was crying over everybody. It was so sweet. Anyways, all right.
Sorry, I went off.
No, I love those things. Okay, so let's talk about some movies. Are you okay if we go here?
I don't care, whatever you want.
We're going in random order. This was the new Netflix movie this week, and it's called Lift.
And this is one of the numerous Kevin Hart movies that have now done Netflix exclusive. We had that TV series True Story he did with Wesley Snipes, which is excellent. Me Time, which is him and Mark Wahlberg. That fatherhood movie. So it's interesting. And the director of this is F. Gary Gray, who did Straight Outta Compton. He did The Italian Job. He did The Fate of the Furious, Fast and Furious entry. So they're teaming up for a heist action film.
Correct.
Surprisingly, this is not really a comedy movie.
No, it's not. It's like a little action adventure.
I think this might be one of the first Kevin Hart is a straight up action star roles.
Correct. And I like though because it's really an ensemble. I have to do my own thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I did it for you.
And I really enjoyed it. A lot of these people, I don't know who these people are. There's a couple of bigger names, and there's a couple of really good supporting.
I've seen all of them in something.
They're so good. I just really.
My only beef with the ensemble here,
not the ensemble,
was that Vincent D'Onofrio was kind of underused. He didn't really ever serve a real purpose, which upset me only because I love Vincent D'Onofrio, and his character seemed to be the most interesting.
He seemed funny.
It was also about all that these disguises. Yes. They weren't even that great at disguises sometimes.
And it's funny because they introduce him as master of disguise, and it's like, not really.
Yeah, but it's like he'll put on a different mustache or a glasses.
Or a wig or something.
I felt like
hilarious. That was
there was more to that character to be used, and they didn't really use it.
Yeah.
But that's not really what this movie is about. It is a heist movie, so for a heist movie to work, you have to have a good heist. What did you think about the heist?
I thought it was very smart. It kind of reminded me a little bit of how what was the one with the cars?
Fast and Furious?
No, the other one, the little cars.
Italian Job.
Same
director?
Oh, it was?
I said that 5 seconds ago. Thanks for listening.
No wonder. So I didn't listen to that. So
you don't listen.
But yeah, it's kind of that because it's smarter, and then there's always something happening that you don't realize is happening, and you got to pay really close attention.
And here's my only issue with this film.
Okay.
It is that tonal change. So I think the opening of the movie, there's a heist that happens that I think felt very much like The Italian Job. The movie is kind of smart. It does play it safe a little bit. But then at somewhere along the line, I think it changed into more of the heist style from Fast and the Furious. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you may not have heard this 5 seconds ago when you weren't listening.
Okay, yes.
The same director also directed The Fate of the Furious.
Okay. I heard that.
Oh, good.
I don't know why I didn't hear the other part.
It was in the same sentence, so you picked and choose what you're listening. You were too busy dancing Straight Outta Compton. That's what it was.
Straight Outta Compton.
So I felt like he went in the middle and then said the first part is The Italian Job and the second part is Fast and the Furious, and they don't always line up.
Yeah.
Because they're totally different.
Yeah.
I'm happy with both of them. It just, I think it unbalanced the film a little bit for me, but not in a horrible way. I still enjoyed the movie. I still thought it was fun.
I liked it. I enjoy it. It's just a fun movie.
It is, but it's a fun, serious movie.
It is serious. Yeah, sure. It's not a funny.
Yeah.
But let me rephrase. It's an entertaining movie.
Yes.
It keeps you engaged. And the heists are well thought out and well executed. And there's some good action. There's some decent fighting. And everybody, I mean,
the fighting's not decent, but it's realistically
passable.
Sort of passable. It's not, and when I say that, it means it's not like fancy choreographed fight scenes. They look like people that are just beating each other up and falling. And I'm fine with that. I don't want to watch Kevin Hart do karate.
Are you okay?
But I think he did a good job as we've seen him do drama, so we know he can do it. We've seen him do comedy numerous times. So to see him in this kind of role where he's more suave and thought out and smart, I thought worked well. I thought, and the irony of this is all I could think about, and I don't know if you even thought about this, was all I could think about was like he finally got to make this movie because he did all that training for
that funny one,
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Those two movies where he's training to be an action star. He really wants to be an action star, and I envision that those two movies led to making Lift.
There you go.
But
anyway.
it also lends itself to make a sequel. So we'll see how well it does.
I think there could be several. You can go back in time and forward in time.
That's what I'm saying.
Know.
It sets itself up to where they can do more
potential heists.
Yeah, heists.
Or maybe even like his first heist, or how they originally met, or
there's a whole story in the movie about something else that occurred that they could go back and tell. And
we have no
so there's a lot of options if it does well, but it also has an ending where you don't need a sequel. So it kind of works as a standalone movie as well. So we'll see what happens. But Lift is available on Netflix. If you're one of those people that don't like Kevin Hart because he's loud and
or you believe he's secretly part of the Illuminati.
Yeah, you think he was a plant in Hollywood by some people, but mostly because you think he's loud and crazy and whatever. He's not that in this movie. This is not that. This is not Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
It's a little more cool.
It's a little
Kevin
bit
Hart.
subdued.
So check out Lift, available now on the Flicks of Nets.
All right. Next, can you tell me about this movie?
I don't know what's happening right here.
That's your dog.
It is
my
my
baby. Dog. He needed snuggies. That's what we call snuggles. Snuggle times. Okay, tell me about this movie.
Okay, so let me pop it up here real quick.
All right.
The Flying Swordsman.
Yes.
Essentially, the movie starts with like these two, I guess, famed warriors or something. They fight. There's some kind of map to treasure or whatever. But one of them is killed, and I think they end up killing both of them. Kind of sets the tone. But the map is found years later, and all the assassins are reemerging. And this mysterious swordsman is running around and killing all these different assassins. So there's a lot of plot twists and things of revealing who people are and whatnot. I dug this movie a lot.
It looks really cool.
It's one of those that it does get bogged down sometimes with too many twists and turns, but it's kind of par for the course with a lot of these wuxia films that they get so much stuff going on, trying to bring drama and love and fighting and this and that sometimes it does get lost on itself. But it seems to find its way back to where it needs to. This is also one of those, this is the genre where they use what I like to call martial arts powers, where it's not superheroes. People have learned certain techniques through their martial arts training that might be a little more otherworldly. Like they know how to do like some technique that shoots a burst of
like those
wind.
weirdo people that we watch videos, but for real.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It's I never can pronounce it right. Wuxia. It's WUXIA. Not wushu. It's WUXIA. It is a subgenre of martial arts film that means martial arts superhero.
Is it Shao?
Martial arts hero. Maybe. I never can say it right. But
we apologize.
They're basically, those are the movies, any of the martial arts movies you watch, and the martial artists are either like superhero types, or they have like the little power types. You know, a lot of the period ones, that's kind of what it is. It's got tons of action, and each character has like unique weapons, which is kind of cool, which I always love when they have some sword that makes no sense.
Right.
It's that kind of stuff. Then there's one twist that you kind of know pretty much the whole movie. It's obvious, but there's a surprise one at the end that you're like, you might figure it out, but at the same time you're like, wait, what? You know, so it's not changing and bringing anything that we haven't seen before, but it's a fun flick. It's action packed. It's well executed. There's some beautiful sceneries and some shots in there because they do a lot of stuff in the snow. There's some fire stuff, so there's a lot of like fighting and like landing, and then
that's cool.
You see the snowflakes blowing by.
That's cool.
So it's visually beautiful at the same time. So I didn't know what to expect, but it was everything I wanted this kind of movie to be. That poster right there pretty much sums up what you're going to get most of the movie.
Cool. It looks cool.
So it is available on Hi-Ya. But it's also on DVD, and you can win one on our website at
HollywoodMatrimony.com. That's so cool.
It's cool too because I was like, I think I said something in the review about it, but it's like the visuals they use in these things somehow make the violence in the movies beautiful. You know,
Do you get any cool shots of blood on the snow?
I don't think
'Cause
there's a
those are
lot of
things
blood
I
in them, but
like.
those are always cool.
Yeah.
This one had so many kind of just crazed moments of powers and whatever that I thought was kind of cool. But either way, I enjoyed the flick. Maybe it's a me thing, but I think this one's worth checking out. It's one of the better ones that come on in a while.
There you go. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Next, are you okay if we go here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Random order.
So this time we have a couple of TV shows we want to talk about. The first, which I found out from another person I know that didn't realize that it was a new show. They thought it was like either a new movie or some weird commercial where you know how they tie commercials into products and stuff now. But it's actually the new
It's
Ted.
a show.
I think currently it's labeled as a mini series. It's only 7 episodes. It's a Peacock original, and it's a prequel to the Ted movie.
Correct.
If you've never seen the Ted movie, dear, what is it about and who's in the movie?
So it's Mark Wahlberg, aka Marky Mark, Mila Kunis, and Ted, who's voiced by Seth MacFarlane. And it's about a man and his teddy bear who magically came to life when he wished upon a falling star. And basically they are best friends and they do everything together. Ted is not child friendly. He is not a child teddy bear. He is an adult man teddy bear.
And he's like when he became to life, he ended up becoming like a TV star and all this stuff.
Yes.
And he's like down on his luck now.
Yeah.
And I think somebody was telling me, one of your friends today was telling me that he saw a trailer for this during the football game that was exclusive to Peacock.
Oh, nice.
And I think it said, watch my new show, Ted, after this. And it is not for children.
It is not. Yes, you can see they're smoking of the marijuana.
Yeah, so one of the things I would like to because I know there was a lot of talk when they talked about doing this show that a lot of people were afraid that they were going to water down the show because it was going to be like a TV series. Mm-hmm. It's very much not watered down. It is still filthy. It's still nasty. It is. And it is hilarious.
It is very funny.
I haven't laughed this consistently in a single show in God knows how long.
Yep. It's really fun.
It's stupid. It's fun. It very much, the vibe of it very much felt like the Goldbergs, but for adults.
Correct. And I think one of the funniest things, I was trying to see if he mentioned it or a post or something. They're using the music from Family Guy. I think they are. I think they're just straight up using the music.
So at the beginning of every episode, if you ever watch Family Guy, it'll always after the credits, whatever, it shows the house and it goes that's not the song, but same kind of thing. Yeah, this show does it every single time too.
The exact music. I'm like, you're just ripping off, but I mean, it's his show.
Well, I'm sure he wrote the music too.
I know, that's what
I'm sure he slightly changed the piano key or something.
Something's a little bit.
Did you ever look into it to find out?
I was trying to see if there was I think I'm just going to tweet him and ask. I guess
you probably could go online and just write.
Do we call it tweeting or do we call it Xing? I'm going to X him now.
Oh, he probably won't even answer because a lot of them have left. Here, while you're talking about it,
I'm going to tweet him. Anyways, I think it's hilarious. I think one of the funniest things now is we get to see Ted's upbringing, who he grows up with. We get to see a young Mark Wahlberg, who's young John. And just, they're in the teenage years. They're in high school. So I think that opens it up for so many funny comedic moments. And then add on top of that he is a dirty old man teddy bear. And just comedy ensues. I mean, it is hilarious. And dealing with normal teenage issues and dating and drugs and dealing with your parents being silly, and it's just so much fun. And then you can totally understand how they become the older, like Mark Wahlberg and him, how we get to that point and how they're always together and kind of codependent. I mean, we understand it. You become aware of it. I think too, the funniest things are his parents.
Oh my God,
they're so funny. So I immediately knew who the mom was. She's the lady from, to me, she's the lady from Beekman's World. And also she did Legally Blonde. She's the friend. She's Samara, I think who it is. I don't know. She's the brown-headed friend. But, I mean, she's just so funny. She's hilarious. Her voice, but now that she's a little bit older and she's saying funny things, like she's a housewife and just taking care of the dad. And the funniest one that got me was the last one. She's like, but you haven't gone caca yet. And she's like, and I'm like, somebody said caca.
Yeah, like there's a whole one episode. All the shows are done like a sitcom.
Yes.
But they range in tone or length between 30 minutes to an hour. And so that's an inconsistent time thing, but it's okay because it does it for whatever the story they're telling. Matter. But there's one that's a whole thing about porn. and she sees it, and she's like talking about what she's supposed to try to do for her husband, and she tells the one girl, she goes, I don't want to choke a woman, but I will if that's what he wants.
Oh, I didn't realize she was Mama Imelda in Coco.
So, but then there's a lot of callbacks. If I don't know how many of you noticed, but there's a lot of stuff. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
There's a lot of callbacks to connections with Family Guy in the show too. Not just that music, but like there's characters in there that are characters from Family Guy's names.
Yeah.
There's one of the big things is that Patrick Stewart was the narrator in the movie version, and they got Sir Ian McKellen to be the narrator for this one, which is kind of funny twist off since they have history with the X-Men and just being good friends in real life. And
yeah, it's hilarious.
If you don't know the kid, he was on Parenthood. He played a young man, I believe, had Asperger's for the entire run of the show.
Oh, wow.
I thought he really had Asperger's. So, I mean, maybe he does, and I don't know. And he's just really good. But he's really good. I didn't know if I was going to like him in this show. I loved him in the other show, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to separate, because I was so used to all those seasons of watching him have a problem.
Yeah.
He's actually fantastic. He's got a great
he's really good. He's
Boston
funny.
accent. And,
yeah, he's fun.
And it's one of those weird movie/TV shows that you would think that the whole Ted idea would wear thin.
No.
Like after a while, you'd be like, okay, this is stupid.
It never gets old.
It doesn't.
It never gets old.
It just works.
It's hilarious.
And I've seen some shots.
I want a Ted Bear, like a life-size, like Ted
they make
Bear.
them.
Do they?
Well, and the way they shoot the shows in the movie is, at least with the movies they did, they actually have a full-size Ted that sits there. And then Seth MacFarlane, who does the voice of Ted,
he's doing the
voice. Which is so stupid. I read an article one time where like telling people why Ted sounds so similar to Peter Griffin. Because it's the same person.
He does all those voices. Then
he doesn't
not all of them,
but
most of them.
Just like Mila Kunis is in Family Guy as well. So anyway, Ted is fantastic. It is a hilarious show. We spent 2 days and watched all 7 episodes. And had we not been busy, we would have watched all 7 in one day. So if you like the movie Ted, this show is fantastic. It also has a lot of things that lead into the movie, like where the Thunder Buddy song came from, their love for pot, the Ted and the hookers, and all that stuff kind of shows its thing, and then it leads into the movie that I kind of want to go watch the movie now and just see all the connections.
It's fun. So
crossing my fingers we get another season, but if we don't, it's the one that I'll probably revisit periodically.
There you go. Check out
Ted is streaming on Peacock now.
There you go.
And ironically that it's on the network Peacock.
I don't think
it fits it.
You're fun.
What's next, sister?
Oh, let's talk about this.
All right. The next one is one that I didn't know anything about until they suddenly sent me a thing about it. It was Freud's Last Session.
Yes.
Which is about Sigmund Freud, not Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but the movie itself is basically about Sigmund Freud and C.S. Lewis. And C.S. Lewis is the person who wrote Chronicles of Narnia, that kind of stuff. And it's about a meeting they have of session. So supposedly, the story itself, before Sigmund Freud died, he supposedly met with some Oxford professor. Nobody knows who it was. So speculation was it could have been C.S. Lewis because it was around the same time.
Correct.
And so this movie is really about their discussion of the existence of God.
Correct.
And also them telling their own tales of their own life issues and family and stuff. And it is based on a stage production.
Yes.
That is also based off a novel.
Yes. I knew about the stage play. I don't think I knew about the book.
See, I didn't know if it was stage play, but it seemed like one that should be a stage production.
Yeah, and because you only need like 3 sets.
So this time around, you have Sir Anthony Hopkins as Sigmund Freud, and it's his later years, not long before his death, and Matthew Good as C.S. Lewis. And it basically says, here's a synopsis for you. It says, Sigmund Freud, a recent escapee with his daughter from the Nazi regime, in his final days receives a visit from the formidable Oxford Don C.S. Lewis. In 1939, the 2 greatest minds of the 20th century intimately engaged in a monumental session over the belief in the future of mankind and the existence of God.
Correct.
So that's kind of the setup. What I was hoping for, first of all, let me say this: it's a great movie.
It is a good movie.
It is one of those. It is very slow because it's
a talkie.
But it is a masterclass in acting.
It absolutely is.
But my issue with this movie isn't a bad thing. It's because I wanted more of something. I think this entire movie should have just been them talking. Their sessions, moving around the apartments, the house, whatever, having their discussion, telling their stories. And what they did here is they took that, they expanded on their stories. They went to these different times in the war and with the daughter and the escapes and the different things. And I think every time they did that, I felt like I was being taken away from their powerful discussion and having to watch the thing happen instead of listening to them tell it. And I felt I would have had more engagement.
If you could engage, if you heard them telling
the story, I could see their passion in their face and because every time they're on screen, it's so good. And when it flashes away from that, I felt like I'm not getting the same thing, even though it was still great.
Right.
That was just a personal preference. That's not a bad thing about the movie.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
And I think you could have shrunk the movie down a little bit by doing that, like a stage production. Like if they just sat these two guys on a stage and the entire movie was them telling all that same stuff through their dialogue.
That's probably how the stage plays.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see
I haven't either. What do you think?
I really enjoyed it. I agree with you. I mean, these two people, that's all you need is these two guys talking. It's amazing. And it is a talkie, but there's so much happening within the scenes. And I like that even through the visual telling of it here on a movie, you can feel the stage aspect of it because there's little things that he's doing, Freud, because he's in pain. He's well advanced in a cancer issue. And you can see him doing the different pills and the different things and so you get it. But at the same time, he's like, okay, got to ignore the pain. And then he comes back as him. But you can see the frail side, the sick side of it. But then he comes back and he's like, no, I'm Freud. We have to boom, boom, boom.
I think there's an element there, too, that makes it a little more powerful and sad because I think we're also seeing Anthony Hopkins aging.
Yes.
It's his own, maybe unintentionally, but it's his own frailty as an older man. He's in his 80s now, I believe. As an actor, he's always been a powerful actor.
That allowed him to really do this you believe it.
He's obviously an older man now.
Yeah.
But in the last few performances, I think he's taken brilliant roles because he's starting to feel older. He's starting to see the way he moves. He looks like an older man moving. Where for years, Anthony Hopkins was an older man, but he didn't feel like an old man.
Correct.
With this, with the movie The Father.
The Father movie was really...
he felt, and I know in that one he's dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's or whatever.
That was the son.
Well, the father was the one that he is. The son is the one he has a small part.
Yes, but the father, with that dementia thing, I was just like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah, and I think
you feel like, but that's why I think he did such a great job with this too, because you kind of feel like he's really like it's himself.
Yeah,
playing that.
Exactly, I agree. I think that's what makes him so powerful.
Yeah.
I think. Because you look at Anthony Hopkins, and I only envision two things when I see Anthony Hopkins. Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
And Magic.
Those
are the two things that get me. The movie Magic, where he's with the ventriloquist dummy. And those are two polar opposite eras of his career.
Yeah.
So now I see The Father. That's what I envision everything now after that performance. And this is another one of those that falls in that same line of just, there's so much depth of emotions and pain and suffering and fear and on the flip side you have Matthew Good who despite being a younger man, we get to see some of his own insecurities and fear of the war and I love there's a scene, there's two scenes in the movie where he kind of breaks down because of PTSD.
I was gonna say he clearly has PTSD.
And one of them is kind of the final shot of the movie too that was really powerful in my opinion that didn't need to be there, but it circles you back and reminds you that he's still afraid.
Yeah. Well, and so the heart of the movie or the story is them debating the existence of God, and it's based specifically on C.S. Lewis's, I guess it was his first book, I don't know, his early writings, The Pilgrim's Progress, which by the way, I do know the book, I've read it.
You've watched the movie too.
And I've watched
the movie. Liam Neeson movie?
That is Liam Neeson's very first movie. He's the Pilgrim in Pilgrim's Progress.
Did he make any progress in that movie?
He sure as heck did.
Good. But I don't know if I know you've seen, or I think you've seen the movies of the Chronicles of Narnia.
I have seen Narnia.
That whole world too is there's a lot of very religious metaphors.
It's very religious.
Aslan is basically Jesus coming back.
Correct.
There's a lot of that same stuff there.
And so, throughout it, I was obviously I believe in the existence of God. I can understand Freud's hesitance to believe in the existence of God, but there was one very striking line where C.S. Lewis is like, Christians or in the Bible will make room for science, but science does not make room for religion,
Yes.
which I do find, because I believe in science. I believe in science.
I believe in science.
But I actually do. And I believe science can provide context for the Bible itself. There are people not like me that don't believe the earth is however many years old, who don't believe in dinosaurs.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's one of those things that me and you've had a lot of discussion.
I
And my
believe in
ongoing
science.
argument is it's always one-sided. It's like all the people that don't directly just believe in the Bible are willing to, not all of them, but willing to listen and think of different options of what's here, but let's talk. The religious people are like, nope.
And,
Most of the time, not everybody.
But I'm more of a C.S. Lewis. I'm willing to accept that science can support my religious beliefs, but not the other way around. What I don't
understand about that mentality is all the things that, again, this is my own thoughts, so I'm not trying to push this on anybody. But if we are in fact, and again, I believe in God, so when I'm saying this to make a generic statement, so before people are like, what do you mean if? She does this to me all the time. She doesn't listen to what I'm saying and then starts trying to correct me. This is making a general statement for the world.
I understand.
Okay. If we're to believe that there's a God, a Jesus, whatever you want to classify it, that has created the world and created us our thought and all these things, why are we so against that? Maybe that same God helped us to create the science. It's up to make us better people, to help heal people, because there's some argument is like, well, if God didn't want us to have be able to get through cancer or whatever, then we'd be able to heal solve it, and we don't need the medicines for that. But I'm like, who do you think created the person that was smart enough to make the medicines, and why do you think? Then there's other people that make alchemy out of it. They're like, oh, well, that's wizardry, and it's like, come on, man. It's like, you can't have everything both ways.
Well, I think there's extremes in everything too, as well, definitely. Even within religious beliefs or even scientific beliefs. Because Agreed. At some point, science was considered to be witchcraft, and people would be killed just because you were mixing some things together and it made a smoke. No, thank you. Well, actually, I'll try one. I think the taste is really strong of the. What? Oh, sorry. But I'm willing to take. And so throughout this, the other thing though too that I found striking is C.S. Lewis obviously had PTSD, but it was an undiagnosed ailment at that time. Yeah. And Freud just saw it as intense fear because of the war.
Which is what it is.
I know it is, but he's like, well, how come if you say you believe in God, you have fear? And I think that itself is a misnomer. I think as human beings, we are allowed to experience fear, but I think the belief in God helps us overcome those things. So that's where I thought he was wrong. But again, that was obviously what C.S. Lewis was telling him also.
But that's that scientific mind of like,
exactly.
Well, you're saying you're going to go to heaven, and why should you be afraid then?
I don't think anybody.
But that's when the
Die.
discussion. But that's a valid question.
It is a valid
and that's when the discussion is like, look, I'm not afraid to die and go to
heaven.
I'm
not afraid to
but
die.
I want to be alive.
I obviously don't want to die right now.
Yeah.
I'm planning to live to about 97, 98.
Jesus Christ, you're gonna be gross.
But
it's one of those interesting movies that I think can spark. Again, I think it would have been
debate.
Way more impactful and open even more discussions had we let them just talk everything out.
Yeah.
That being said, the moments with
I think his
C.S. Lewis stuff and not seeing that wouldn't have had the same impact of his fears, because you needed some of those elements that are creating the fears in the movie to get that point across. But I think those could have been done in a little smaller elements like they were.
I was saying too, the thing with Freud's daughter was super impactful and kind of sad in a way.
It was.
That even with him, with such a scientific mind and such an open mind of sexuality and what people perceive to be sexual disorders, he's like, it's not a disorder, this is just how people is. But he himself wasn't really willing to accept his daughter's sexuality, because what I understood from it was that she believed she was a man in a woman's body, but back then they didn't have that. They just had, oh, you're a lesbian.
Yeah.
So,
then that would go against science, because that doesn't make sense, because you're physically this. So that's why.
But she believed herself.
There's a lot
to
of
be,
scientific.
But you got it right through some of her.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
He's like, you're not a boy, you're a girl, But
there's two levels.
He just thought she was a lesbian.
There's two levels of that I think it's.
He didn't accept.
Both of those arguments are the same, though. Whether she thought she was a man in a woman's body or she just was lesbian, he's still saying, man and woman only. But that's the scientific understanding of that's how procreation and life works. Is those two people will go together, not to easily, because what's the scientific purpose of two men or two women?
I know.
And so I understand.
But he was accepting it of other people, but not so much his own daughter.
Well, again,
But then because he said lesbianism was a result of the bad relationship with the father, so he felt it was his fault.
Yeah.
But no one's at fault necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting, and I think
it's a really interesting. Yeah, it's really good.
It's an interesting movie that, like I said, can open up a lot of discussions, a lot of fights. But again, my own personal preference, I really still would have rather see just these two guys talk.
I wonder if we can find a version of the stage production.
Oh, I don't want to watch that
on YouTube. There is something about
Anthony Hopkins. I'm not going to be interested in watching. Anyway, Freud's Last Session. I don't know when it opens wide, but it is playing now in Dallas and some other things. So just look for it in select cities.
It's really good.
If you want to just see some, in a world of all these movies we get, it's nice to see these kind of things pop up. They never get the credit they deserve as far as box office, but it's something that's worth checking out.
You sweet dog.
What else we got?
Let's see what else we got. Oh, we got this.
All right. So the latest chapter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe TV Disney Plus series.
That.
So this was Echo, which is one I've had no interest in watching.
I didn't even know there was an Echo.
The character Echo, I've never read any of the stuff in the comics about her or anything else, but she first appeared in the Hawkeye series. That's where they set it up. So this series is basically spin-off season 2 Hawkeye, if you will. Just instead of following Hawkeye or Kate Bishop, we're following the Echo character after what she did to Kingpin. So if you haven't watched Hawkeye, I suggest you need to watch Hawkeye. You don't have to, because it does flash it back, but you won't know why what happens.
Yeah.
And so this show is just following her after the events at the end of Hawkeye. Echo is a Indian. What is she?
Native American.
Native American.
In this series, she's Choctaw. I don't know if that's really what she was in the comic.
I think so. I think she was. She's Choctaw Indian. She's deaf. And she's an amputee.
Yes.
So there's
all those things are true of this lady.
Yeah, this lady is in fact a Native American. She is deaf and she is an amputee.
I'm like, how do you find that perfect combination of this person? I need someone.
Her casting is both brilliant and problematic for Hollywood. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's perfect because it matches everything for that character. It's problematic because all the people that fight about everybody that plays something different, they're like, well, look, you can
find a Native American Choctaw speaking deaf amputee girl.
Because I heard somebody, I don't remember what it was on, but they were talking about the movie Scar. Oh, it was Howard Stern. Howard Stern popped in with a special show for his birthday yesterday, and Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel were at his house, as long as Courtney Cox and some other people were all there.
Yeah, he always has people over.
They were talking about, at one point, they were talking about Jimmy Fallon was doing a Scarface impression. And then they were talking about there's no way they would make Scarface with Al Pacino these days, because he was Cuban and this and that. And then they're like, yeah, nowadays they couldn't even cast him unless you had a scar on your face, So it was like that same idea. Yeah. But anyway.
Now, do we know in the comics, is this true? The character, we know she's deaf for sure. She's native.
She is amputee as well.
She is amputee in the comic?
Yes.
I'm just telling you, what conundrum of events happened in the world to lead us to this lady? Because that is amazing.
I don't know, but I did watch a video.
So cool.
I didn't get a chance to show you. I did watch a video when they all told her she got the part. Because that was her first part, too.
In
Hawkeye, I believe was her first big thing. Yeah, they were on a Zoom meeting. And they're like, what should we all tell her? And then everybody at the same time kind of went like this. And she's like, I got it, And then she got excited. And then it started showing that, like with behind the scenes making of it, predominantly a lot of the show is in sign language. And I know there's a lot of people in that community that are feeling seen right now, and they love the fact, to me, it felt very much like watching a holiday special on Wookiees and no subtitles. No, I'm just kidding. But they said that everybody on the set and cast learned sign language.
You have to be able to
that everybody can communicate with her and everybody else.
That's the only fair thing
to
do.
They were talking about the producers that they all took sign language classes before doing the show.
That is so nice.
Like doing the Hawkeye show, you don't necessarily, you can get around it. You can have one interpreter
a little bit.
Because she wasn't the star of that show.
Correct.
She's in almost every scene of the show, and you have to get it. Anyway, what did you think of the show?
I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. You don't have to know too much about anything. Like you said, I think if you watch Hawkeye, you're set. I think you need to know who Kingpin is.
Yes.
And he's the bad guy. And then everything else just kind of falls into place because we're learning her story. We get her whole background and life story, what she's all about. And I found it, what's the word? I feel like this show It's kind of one of the things that happens at work where we're leveling the playing field. So at my office, our predominant languages are English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. We do everything in English. And there was one meeting that I held that was like, no, we're going to start all the questions in French. And then you translate to the people at your table. Let's see how that feels.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all the English speakers were like, well, wait, they're going to know before. I'm like, that's how they feel. That's how I think this makes people feel now. We're leveling the playing field.
Yeah,
And I think for us, because we watch everything with subtitles anyway,
because
you're hard of hearing a little bit. And I felt like this was so cool because it puts us at an even advantage now.
Yeah.
Where the TV doesn't have to be up to 100.
I don't have to set it because it's going to be there. It's like we saw 2 movies this year
with no dialogue.
That Silent Night, which was all no dialogue.
Nah.
Then got to go see Godzilla, that was all subtitled on its own. So it's like I was so excited. It's sad, but I was so excited that I didn't have to go get my hearing device to watch either one of those movies because they were already preset. I don't expect them to change every movie like that, but it is.
But I love that for people.
Those were, and I'm not completely deaf, but I'd say I'm partially deaf at this point because I can't hear a lot of stuff. But I that was the first time that I felt like excited about something that wasn't the movie.
Yeah.
It was involved in the movie. Like, hey, I didn't have to go get that. And I also remember the very first movie that I realized I had to start wearing those. Do you even remember what it was?
I don't.
It was Spiral. They went, and I'm like, I can't hear this freaking movie. It was the first time I went to a movie, and I'm like, I can't hear it. I don't understand. I mean, I hear the sounds, but I don't understand what they're saying. And so I remember walking out. I said, just before they had the enhancers, I was like, I need the subtitle thing. And I went to, and there was that big monstrosity.
You had to stick it in your cup, and it's a big thing.
And I got it, and it didn't work. And I was so mad. And I felt like, how dare this not work when I need it? Before I'm like everybody else, I'm like, it's fine. But now I'm like, how dare this thing not work for me when I need this?
But see, that's why I'm telling. Now you see that this feels like so equitable now for everyone else. How cool is that? And I like too. You'll see throughout the series the use of technology for sign language.
Yes,
that was cool.
That was cool.
I hope that actually becomes a thing.
Yeah. But I even knowing the character from Hawkeye, I still didn't care about the show going into it. It's not a perfect show. There are some clunky bits. It's a little all over the place sometimes. I think could have probably used another 2 episodes to really flesh it out. And then I was a little concerned because this was one of the first shows that this is the first Marvel show they just dumped the entire season. And so it made me feel like with all the problems they've been having with the last few Marvel movies and stuff, not getting the box office that they used to get, it felt like they were just dumping the show out. Like, okay, let's just put it out and be done.
Yeah.
But it works. It's like you said, it
needs to be a series.
There's a multi-tiered thing there between the amputee people dealing with the leg and dealing with her thing. And they don't overplay it. It's really just about the leg thing she wears. But they're not afraid to use that leg situation in a fight or in a to her advantage and to her disadvantage. Then there's the deaf aspect of it, and not only dealing with the sign language, but they never treat her like, oh, you're deaf, it's a problem. It's just the way things are. And everybody that talks to her knows sign language.
There's that one guy that's like, hello, and then
to the little girl, the hot dog guy.
Yes, and I'm just like,
Yeah, and
you never treat people that way.
It's one scene like that.
But
but it's a very powerful moment because it serves 2 purposes. One, somebody who's seeing somebody be disrespected and how they handle it, and seeing somebody dealing with something because they didn't bother to ask why they don't understand.
Yes, like
I felt like he was treating her because she was brown.
Yes, like she can't speak
English, as opposed to I can't hear words you're saying. And the other side of that is.
I think because we've been in the situation where we're in a foreign land where we don't speak the thing, and people have to just be patient with you, and you're like pointing at a picture, and I'm like, how much money?
But have you noticed that any other country we go to that's very limited English world,
they're so nice.
They're pre-prepared with, at a restaurant, they give you a menu that doesn't have words. It has pictures. Because they know we may not be able to communicate, but here, which one do you want? You just point to the one you want. You come here, there's nothing set for anybody.
Unless you go to an Asian restaurant that has pictures.
Yeah, but they have pictures. But
if you tell, it's an Asian restaurant. American people, we don't.
It's like, you just take this. Like, if you go to any, like, even if you look at some Mexican food restaurants, they have pictures of their food. So, but it's interesting. But in this one, it's also dealing with the Native American aspect, and so they bring a lot of the Native American cultures and different things. And I've seen a lot of Native American people that I'm friends with, or just knowing that really excited about what
it's
this
such a great
show
year
is
for
doing.
Native American culture with Lily Gladstone. Did you see they posted the people from the
when they were watching her win?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had like all the people were like,
yeah,
what was that? What was that tribe? That is
the
Osage. The Osage people were there. And so I liked too in this one at the end, they're like, thank you to the Choctaw Nation. And I'm like, I've been there, not just to the casino. But, but you know,
I enjoyed the show way more than I thought I would.
Awesome.
It's a toned down version of a Marvel show. It's not the superheroes. There is a superhero element that I think sets up. It'd be interesting where they're going to go with her. I think she could be a reoccurring character in the Daredevil show. I think that's a chance they could throw her into the Young Avengers series because, they already went. If you watch the Marvels, Miss Marvel went and recruited Kate Bishop, and she has a direct connection with Kate Bishop from that show.
Yeah, so it could just be girl power.
It could be one of those, which that could enter an interesting dynamic.
And then people will be mad about girl power.
Well, that could be an interesting dynamic of she was kind of a bad guy in the other one, and then kind of fighting. Just like Florence Pugh showing up, I forgot her character now, being kind of a bad guy with Hawkeye, but then kind of turning it around.
Yeah, once she realized the connection. So
anyway, and clearly they're doing something because the final episode of this show does have like a little tag with Kingpin, and leading into probably what it's going to be doing in the Daredevil show. So Daredevil is the first series that they're doing for Disney Plus that I think is getting like full. It's already been given, I think, 2 seasons, and it's doing like full 20 episodes.
And it's the same guy from the original show, I guess.
Yeah, that show's not. I don't think canon anymore. Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox. Yeah, it's called Daredevil Born Again.
Okay, I liked that show.
But they've got the same.
Now, is he actually blind?
No, he's not blind.
Well, they did bad casting.
There was recent rumors too, supposedly, that the guy that played Foggy and the girl that was like the secretary lady from True Blood, I forgot her name, the redhead chick.
Yes,
it was in the Daredevil show.
Yes.
They may be supposedly coming back to that show.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So they're basically redoing that show in a different way. I think even John Bernthal is coming back as the Punisher too. So they've kind of just retooled it all.
Okay.
Anyway,
but that show doesn't exist in the new show, I guess. So we're starting over.
I don't think they're using the canon, even though originally the other Daredevil show was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe canon. I think they're kind of pushing it to side because that's a Netflix show. But it also is starting to show up on, because they got the rights of it back, so it's all starting to show up on the Disney Plus now.
On the dark side?
Yeah, but I think they're using Marvel.
What is it called? Dark Heroes or something?
Marvel Knights.
Marvel Knights.
Yeah, which whatever. Is all. That's the other thing.
This is the Disney Plus. It's on
this is the very first
adult section. The adult section of Disney.
This is the very first essentially rated R Marvel show. Deadpool will be the very first Marvel Cinematic Universe rated R movie that's coming out this year. But this is kind of falling on the lines where they're going to do some stuff. They did a Marvel imprint years ago called Marvel Knights, and it was basically any book that was a little darker. So it was like Blade and Ghost Rider and Moon Knight and Punisher kind of fell in that realm for a while.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a parental advisory type of. That's what this is. This series is hyper violent.
I'm like,
I mean, in comparison to the other stuff, it's very violent, but it was entertaining. It's good.
It's good.
I like the show a lot. I had a great time. So if you like the Marvel stuff,
I enjoyed.
Check it out.
All right, one more.
Sorry, all 7 episodes are available on Disney Plus. I think it was 7 episodes or 6 episodes, 5, whatever it is. However many episodes, 5 episodes, whatever episodes, they're all there.
All right, next.
Is this the last one already?
This is the last one for
the last one is the latest movie from Jason Statham, which is called
The Beekeeper.
It is directed by David Ayer, who had me super excited. David Ayer is the same one that did End of Watch. He did the Suicide Squad, the first one that had Will Smith in them in it. He did Fury, the one about the tank, which I love. Brad Pitt in them. Yeah. So I was super excited to see what they could put together.
Yes. Jason Statham. That's all you need to know.
I was also, it's
actually really good. Guys.
I was also hoping, because the last 2 movies Jason Statham had came out did not do well at the box office, which is Expendables 4 and The Meg 2.
Well, the Meg 2, by the way, that's just silly. That's just
it
silly
is, but
business.
that movie was the movie I expected it to be. So I had
Yeah.
a blast with the Meg 2 because it's exactly the crazy movie I thought.
I hope they weren't expecting it to make money because it's silly business.
Well, they'd expect to make money because the first one made money. They
Well,
went bigger and better.
I think they got lucky on that.
No, they didn't
It's
because the first one was
ridiculous.
fantastic.
Ridiculous.
It's fantastic.
All right, fine.
Expendables 4, on the other hand, it's a good action flick, but it's not that great a movie. And that's because they messed up because it was supposed to originally be a Jason Statham movie spinoff, and then they turned it into an Expendables film, and they put people. Don't get me started on that movie. I still like it, but yeah. So The Beekeeper is a new world, new franchise possibilities. Tell us what the movie's about.
It's about this man who is trying to live a quiet life.
Is he in fact a beekeeper?
He is in fact a beekeeper. He's making honey, just doing his thing. He rents a garage space from this lovely lady,
Miss Cosby,
played by Mrs. Cosby, Felicia Rashad. And one day, Felicia Rashad gets taken by some hackers, and they take over her computer. They steal everything she has. And she feels so distraught and upset, she just can't continue, and she ends her life. And that is
not a spoiler because it is in the trailer.
And thus begins a tale of revenge from the beekeeper to find out who did this to this poor innocent old lady. Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this: The Beekeeper is like watching an old action movie from the 80s or 90s.
Yes. Which
to
I
me is a great thing.
I enjoyed. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I not have a problem with that. I love that aspect. I love that era of filmmaking. But it does mean there are some cheesy one-liners.
There's a lot of good references and things about honey and bees and gonna sting you, and I mean just silly bee jargon.
Yeah.
It's hilarious to me.
Sorry, I got caught up on wonder if Felicia Rashad and Ahmad Rashad were still together, but
are they?
No, they're not. They got divorced in 2001, but she kept his name.
Bad. Well,
I guess
that's her name.
Anyway, I agree. The movie has got a lot of cheesy one-liners. The story is it's a good story with a lot of mystery, a lot of options to expand it. The movie reminded me very much of John Wick, which instead of killing a dog, it killed an old black woman.
Correct.
And there's a lot of the same tone of, oh, you don't know who this is, and you don't know what you've done. You've kicked the hornet's nest, if you will, the bee's nest, and opened something up. It's essentially the same idea.
Yeah.
And there's an underground world. There's like this whole backstory of stuff, whether it's his history or the other people involved, that I think it really lends this movie for a franchise.
Yeah.
And I hope it does because the movie is awesome. It's got so much ass kicking in it.
Such good action, and he's so good at it.
And I love he has that signature thing that he likes beating people up while wearing a suit.
I love
and
it.
He always finishes beating somebody else, and he fixes his suit, and they whoop someone else's ass.
I love it. So good. You need to wear a suit, babe.
It just doesn't look good in a suit. I just don't.
You have to get one specially tailored.
I just don't think body wise. I just don't look good in a suit. I look good naked.
Anyways.
Yeah, this movie is essentially just a Jason Statham action flick.
It is. It's
everything.
Awesome.
Now, I will say there's much like the other movie we were talking about, there's a tonal shift where the first half of the movie, the action and the story and everything feels very gritty and serious. Mm-hmm. Then it turns into this tonal, almost, I hate saying cartoonish, but kind of over the top cartoonish action.
It's over the top.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
I did too. But it did feel like two different movies suddenly.
Well, I think it's because do we know this person's in the movie?
Yeah, I think so.
Once Jeremy Irons is like, whoa, there's nothing you can do about this. If he's coming to get you, it's over. I think at that moment we see the over the topness kind of engage.
And it wasn't even the action stuff. It was just some of the tone. Like there's some unbelievable moments. And
I love it.
There's even one character that shows up. It's just so random. That's kind of that assassin.
This guy?
No, that was a different problem. No, the gas station lady. She's in the trailer. She's got the lady with this big Gatling minigun and stuff.
Yeah.
That one came out of nowhere.
I thought he was hilarious.
He was, but he was like, "What is wrong with this guy?"
I know.
I thought you hated him because you kept making faces every time they showed him because he's weird.
No, because I was just like, what is this?
I'm
Looks
pretty
like
sure he's
an
Australian.
action figure that they put in the middle of this movie.
Yeah.
With this bright yellow thing. I'm like, what is that?
That's what I'm
so
saying.
Out of
There's
place.
moments and characters and stuff that suddenly didn't feel like the rest of the universe.
Correct.
But it was okay because I was fine with the craziness.
You know what? We're just there to watch Jason Statham beat people up.
And
in
it's
a
also
suit, like
dealing
you said.
with a real life issue of people scamming
Yes,
people, and
that's
so it's
big.
interesting to see. Like this reminded me of I don't know if you've ever watched those videos of people that hack into the hackers' phone lines and stuff.
No.
Oh my God! You go to YouTube and there's this guy that hunts them down, and he'll like show videos of he hacks into their cameras and the call centers, and then he'll call them and talk to them, and then he's worked with figuring out exactly their addresses and all this, and then they've sent people where they've actually got them all busted, and but he just does it for fun.
Wow.
He'll start talking to them, and he'll hack into their computers and start shutting their stuff
He
down.
hacks the hackers?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fun. It's fun to watch. Anyway, this movie is all kinds of badass. This might already hit one of my top 10 of the year, just because it's old school Jason Statham. It's a lot of ass kicking.
It's really good, guys. It's just fun.
I enjoyed it.
I
had a blast with
And you know what I enjoyed about this one this time?
What
There's no romantic whatever entanglements to mess up our story. We don't even care about that. We are just kicking butt.
There's no reason for any.
We don't need to have any of that other nonsense slowing us down.
I agree.
And by the way, I love Jeremy Irons because you just hear that voice and I'm like, oh, there you go.
Do you think of Scar?
I don't. You know
or Die
what?
Hard.
Die Hard.
You're gonna probably be the Borgias.
The Borgias.
Yeah.
He was so malicious and good, but that voice, I'm just like, oh, so good at being a bad guy.
I love him in
He's
Die Hard with a Vengeance. He plays Simon,
but also
and he's the whole thing that hearing that voice of him like
Lion
Simon
King.
says. I love Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons is great. I was so good, and I love Josh Hutchinson's in this movie.
PETA?
He's great in this movie because he's so.
I don't like PETA.
I'm hit and miss with the movies he does. I hate that. I hate him.
I hate him in
Hunger Games.
I
also
don't
hate
like
Peter
him.
Bread, but no, like I wasn't a big fan of him. He was okay in Five Nights at Freddy's. That movie just missed the mark for me. But he was so unlikable in this movie and pompous.
Yes.
And he fit that character to perfection.
He did a really good job at making me not like him.
Yeah, but he was just so douchey that made it perfect for this. And he reminded me of a high class version of the guy from John Wick.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's all of it's the same thing.
It's all coming back around.
But I don't have a problem that this is almost like a different version of John Wick because I think every action movie should follow that same guideline and make something out of it. And I hope we see more Beekeepers from this movie.
There you go.
It actually did really well too. And I think it did better than they expected it to do. It was number 2. I think the Mean Girls movie was number 1.
Sorry. I mean, if you love Mean Girls, good. I like the movie. I don't think I want to go see it. I don't know. I'll wait for video.
Well, this is the movie too. This is the musical.
This is the musical.
It's basically the Color Purple thing going to Mean Girls.
It's the Broadway version musical thing, which is
fun. But in the defense of that movie, it does still have Baby Polar connected.
If they do the musical version of Legally Blonde, which I did the show at the community thing, then I'll watch that.
Oh, because you were in that show, you'll watch that.
Yes.
Anyway, the Beekeeper is all kinds of badass, plenty of actions, great stuff. Did you have a favorite action or favorite kill in the movie? My favorite part is when you fell asleep.
I fell asleep for 1 second.
She did. She didn't sleep through the movie.
No, they got into the car. They got out of the car. That's how long I fell asleep.
Here's the problem with that moment that she goes to sleep. So we catch on to stuff.
Yes, it was the car thing.
The only reason I knew she dozed off, and like I said, it was a split second. She had a really long day. She was tired. But the funny thing is, we do moments from movies that we latch on to, stuff like Engaged, that became from some friends, and You Touch My Hairy Business, and all those kind of things. And so there's a moment in the movie where these two random characters, it cuts to them in the backseat of the car. It's a stupid scene. It shouldn't even be in the movie. But they're fixing to get out, and they bump hands like this together, and they get out of the car, right? So I saw that as like, oh, that's such an us thing. So it happens. I'm watching the movie, not looking at her, and I go like this. Nothing is happening. Normally, she catches exactly what I'm doing. We high five, whatever. And I'm just sitting here in a dark theater watching the movie, and I'm like, bitch. I look at her, she's like,
oh,
and then she's like,
second. Sorry.
And then I'm having to explain to her after. I'm like, oh, we're supposed to do this. And what does she do when I was there? She goes, I'm like, no, it's too late now, man.
I'm sorry. sorry.
But no,
just
so
for
it was
second.
she missed nothing. You saw the whole movie. You're
Yeah,
fine.
I saw the whole thing. It was good. It's a really good movie. I recommend it. It's in theaters now.
Yes, I would go watch this one again.
There you go.
Is that it?
All right, yeah. Tell me what's going on over there.
Not a lot of big stuff coming out, but usually after coming in, usually the month of January is kind of slow because we're coming off of the new year and they're slowly picking back up. The movie Chopper, which I don't know if you've ever seen, which is a great movie, but it's a movie with Eric Bana that made him famous, playing like a I remember he was a Hell's Angel or like it's a very violent movie.
I like him.
The Raid Redemption is getting a Steelbook 4K release. The Raid is all kinds of badass. If you've never seen it, you're stupid. There's a sorry.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel.
A sequel to Ernest and Celestine, which was an animated feature that we watched a while back. I believe might be from France. It's like a bear and a mouse or something, I believe. Okay. I don't remember now. Yeah. But Ernest and Celestine, A Trip to Gimbertia. I don't know what that is or whatever. So that's coming out. And so the rest of it's some random stuff. So that's kind of it.
Okay. There are so much happening at the theater or online.
Things. Oh,
so many things.
I'm waiting for them to send me that.
Okay, coming out Tuesday on Video Demand and Digital is a movie called One More Shot. It's the new Scott Adkins movie.
But do you know what it?
So you know we're gonna watch it.
Now you do realize that this is a sequel.
It is.
We've seen the first one. The first one's called One Shot.
Oh,
and this is the one that the entire movie was shot to look like a single scene.
Sequence. I remember that. I do remember
on the military base.
Yeah. Yes. And they showed how they do it. It wasn't necessarily.
It wasn't actually one shot. It was shot to look like.
But they did the camera angles just perfectly.
This is the sequel.
I remember that. Oh, okay, good.
It's also got Michael Jai White in it this time too.
Oh,
I'm super excited.
Okay. So it's our same Navy SEAL friend, Scott Adkins. And now he's dealing with some terrorist issues. It doesn't matter.
And it's still shot like
it was awesome, and he was shooting at people.
Yeah.
I remember. Thank you so much for that. Also on Video Demand and Digital.
I think we watched it. Hold on, I'm sorry. That was one of the movies I believe came out in 2020. So I think we watched it online during the COVID.
It was a COVID movie. Yeah. I remember now. There's a movie called Punch, and it is about this legendary kind of sinister serial killer called Mr. Punch.
Oh, goodness.
This guy comes back to university. They're at a late night party. And of course, who's going to appear? Mr. Punch.
Did he get punched?
I don't know what's going to happen. We got to watch the movie. Another one on Video Demand and Digital, A Place of Our Own. It's about these two ladies who get evicted from their home. And they're trying to find a place to live. And it's really a look at the discrimination that they face because they're a couple trying to rent an apartment, and it's just really challenging for them. So I think it's going to be an interesting movie. Coming out on Thursday to Netflix, 60 Minutes. It's a martial arts fighter, finds himself in this fight, and he's like, I got to leave this fight because I got to get to my daughter's birthday party in 60 minutes. Well, they're not going to let him go. He has to fight his way there. So I'm all about that.
It's a Netflix movie?
It's a Netflix movie.
All right.
Also coming to Netflix, a movie called From the Ashes. It says, normal day at school ends in disaster because there's a mysterious fire in the basement. All right, coming up Friday at the theater, the new movie ISS, which stands for International Space Station. This is in the trailer. We see all the people getting along from all the different countries. And suddenly they're looking down at Earth and they see these big bombs and explosions going off. And suddenly they're all getting secret messages from their country saying, take over the space station. So are they going to fight? Are they going to be peaceful and friends? Because on the space station, everybody's friendly. We don't know. Looks good. Another movie coming to the theater on Friday, The End We Start From.
I don't know this one either.
This is about, I watched the trailer. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it.
When did you watch this trailer?
Earlier today.
I never watched any trailer.
So it's about this lady and her newborn baby. They're trying to just find their way home, but there's a natural disaster, and suddenly there's these massive floods in London, and she gets separated from her baby, and she's trying to find it, and there's crazy people, and it just looks like craziness because it's one of those natural disaster films. Another movie coming to the theater, a movie called Distance. Somebody crash lands on an alien planet, and he's trying to find his way across the planet because there's another person that crash landed with him, but they're stuck in the escape pod and they can't get out. But there's creatures that they're trying to fight. So, maybe a little alien creature feature. Also in theaters, Which Brings Me to You. It's a romantic movie about these people who meet at a wedding. And before anything happens, they decide they're just going to tell their entire life stories to make sure, is this really the person I want to be with? I don't know how you get so serious at a wedding thing, but okay.
Hold on, go back up there. Is that a sequel?
This one?
Yeah.
Yes, but it's only limited release.
No, I know, but I've never even known they were making that.
Yes.
Because I know it used to be not another teen movie and stuff. And interesting.
All right. Coming out to Netflix on Friday, a movie called The Kitchen. All we know is it's a thriller that takes place in an alternate London.
Also, take place in a kitchen?
Yes.
That one I'm looking forward to as well.
This?
No, go up one.
This
that
one?
It's another.
It's in Video Demand and Digital this week called Wanted Man. Who is it?
Dolph Lundgren and Kelsey Grammer.
I mean,
and Dolph Lundgren directed it too.
Oh, awesome! It's about a DEA agent, and they're trying to go find the missing eyewitness and get her across the border to testify. And of course, craziness ensues because they find out they were. It was actually their own people that took out the first group.
Of course.
So traitors in the mist.
Usually what happens.
Coming out on Friday to Paramount Plus, a new series called The Woman in the Wall. This one looks really interesting. It's this lady who has suffered some sort of she suffers from sleepwalking incidents where she doesn't remember what she's doing. And it's because she had some childhood trauma when she was a young girl. And because of that, she finds herself in strange places, strange things have happened. One day she wakes up and there's a dead body in her house. And she's like, what the heck? There. So she's trying to figure out what happened, but because she has these serious bouts of sleepwalking, she has no idea what happened. So it's going to be a really good series on Paramount Plus. I'm just calling it right now. And that's it. Oh, yeah, that's it. There's a lot happening.
Sure? That's a lot coming out this weekend, is there? As far as like,
well, in the theater, there's 4 new movies.
I know, but they're not like really big releases, so they probably.
But that gives us time to watch everything.
Yeah, because we still haven't seen.
Except from
the new
last
Color Purple.
week.
We haven't seen.
But the ISS one, I think, will be good.
We have a Night Swim. We haven't seen. Migration.
Yes, that one looks so cute. He's like, why is everyone flying the other way?
I think there's that romantic comedy I don't think you care about watching. Self-Reliance was one that I was going to watch. We missed that in role play, so we'll talk about those. All right. What else are we talking? Oh, the contest, right?
Tell me about the contest. Let me put them up on the screen.
We got some new stuff, sister.
I saw that.
So our contest, we got a few things. So we still got copies of the Ghost Station, which we talked about.
Really good.
Good for me. We got some digital copies of the Marvels.
I thought it was really good.
Latest Marvel movie. I know that it was mixed with mixed results because either you hate Brie Larson, you hate him as Captain Marvel, you hate women empowerment, or a movie was too silly. I had a blast with the movie.
I like her.
It should have been a series, I think, and there was issues, but overall, I thought it was a fun movie.
And I like her in that new series, The Lessons in Chemistry. Really good. Yeah. She was nominated for that.
The woman's won an Oscar, so it's like.
I know. Was she in The Room? Was that her?
Yeah.
Oh, she's so good.
Anyway, I just picked my notes.
Did you see her her little interaction with J-Lo? I posted it.
Yes, when she was super excited because
she started crying because she's like.
And I don't know why anybody would be excited to see J-Lo.
No, but because she said.
Like I'd be excited to see her booty, but.
Booty.
I'm just not a J-Lo. I was okay J-Lo fan as an actress.
Well, that's what she's saying, that when she watched Selena, that made her want to act.
Oh God, that's the worst. I think the last time I really was excited
to see
Train. The
Train.
No,
movie.
Not Money Train. Like she's good in the movie, but my last thing that I saw that I thought she was excellent in was U-Turn.
Oh, that was a while back.
Yeah, and she's full on Mexican Chola look in that movie. But I think she's just really good in that movie. And then things went off the rails and started doing these romantic comedies and became J-Lo and just I lost anyway.
She's Jenny from the block
over there.
Well, she's sleeping.
Anyway,
she's doing what she's supposed to.
She does her thing.
All right, next.
Then of course we have copies of the Flying Swordsman that I told you about today. Also one of my favorite movies of the year, The Holdovers, which is a fantastic movie.
And he won an award for it.
He did, and this movie is technically a Christmas movie.
There you go.
Because it does take place during Christmas. It's a great movie. We have
she won an award for it too.
She did.
Wow. Good
and that boy was nominated for stuff too.
Awesome.
This is one of his first movies.
Good for him.
Then we have digital copies of Wish, the new Disney movie that's coming out soon that we'll begin to talk about soon, finally, because we missed that one at the theater.
Sure
and finally, we got copies of Daddy-Daughter Trip that is directed by and starring Rob Schneider and his real-life daughter.
Aww.
What is her name? Miranda Schneider. And even his wife has a cameo in it. And so it's anyway. If you want to see our review, you can find that on our website somewhere. I don't know where it's at
There
now.
you go. So
Anyway,
check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com.
And we do have some other options, other giveaways popping up soon. Also, as I promised, I haven't posted yet. If I can get it put together, we'll do it for the show next week. But I will be posting on all of our social media accounts that we are going to give away a digital James Cameron
prize pack.
Prize pack. Thank you. That will include.
It's like 3 or 4 things, right?
My brain just stopped.
It happens.
That will include digital codes from Movies Anywhere for True Lies, Aliens, The Abyss, and Avatar 1 and 2.
There you go. That is a lot. Free stuff.
And we've already given away a bunch of those. So some of you that have got them, congratulations and thank you for supporting us. Those who didn't get them, I'm sorry, but you'll have another chance to try to win all of them at once.
We're trying. All right.
So tell your friends.
That's it. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. Make sure you go find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Hive, YouTube, Blue Sky, the website, hollywoodmatrimony.com.
The QT.
Wherever things are sold.
Wingstop.
There you go. We'll be there. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.